Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. I'm back from a very quick, I wouldn't call it a vacation. I was with my parents. Anyway, we've got a great show lined up for you all. We got Gianni the Greek coming on. He's going to talk the Green Bay Packers San Fran game. Carmine Bianco will take apart some prop bets in the KC Buffalo game. And, of course, Art DiCesare at the end of the show. I'm Lawrence Presman. Teddy Covers is my co-host, and we're going to start right off the bat with Mr. 60+% in NFL this season, Carmine Bianco. Welcome to the show, my friend.
What's going on, guys? Divisional playoffs. I'm loving it, especially because I'm a Bills fan. So I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully I'm still looking forward to it after Sunday's game against the Super Bowl champs.
So Andrew McGinnis came on yesterday's show and he gave us a free play talking about a Josh Allen rushing yards prop. He liked Josh Allen rushing yards over. Made a pretty strong case for that. You want to talk about Josh Allen passing touchdowns. Do we like over? Do we like under? Does that correlate at all with what Andrew liked when it came to Josh Allen rushing props? Talk to me about Josh Allen and touchdown passes against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Teddy, I think it all goes in what your narrative is on how this game is going to go. I think if you believe that the Bills are going to win at home and weather is not going to be a factor, even though they're asking people to come and help shovel. That field was in perfect condition last week. It's going to be the same. It's covered by tarp. It'll be fine. I look at the Allen over TDs, and it is plus money. 1.5 is plus 110, and you're wondering why would it be plus 110? It's because Josh Allen no longer needs to be the guy that carries this team on his back, although he's probably going to have to do a lot of that this weekend against this KC team. And a lot of it has to do with the change in offensive coordinators. Since they got rid of Ken Dorsey and they brought in Joe Brady, this team has been more balanced. The rushing game is a lot better with James Cook. We saw that again, especially at home against Dallas, where Allen only had to throw the ball 15 times in that game. I think he was 7 of 15. At home, and this is at home, not including the game in London, where he threw for a couple of TD passes in that one. That's not a true home game. He did go over this number 5 of 8 times, but it's more about the fact that in the playoffs, he's really stepped it up in the playoffs. You look at his playoff record, and I'm looking at Allen's numbers here, and 4 of his last 5 games in the playoffs, he's gone over this number of 1.5 TD passes. He did it last week as well, too. 15 TDs, only 3 interceptions, and 6 of his 9 playoff games overall for the Bills. He's had 2 or more touchdown passes in those games. KC isn't going to roll over and play dead in this game. This is a game in which the Bills are going to have to score points, and I think they're going to have to at least score at least 28 to win this game. They went into KC, played a better defensive game week 14. They win that game 20-17, but I think it was their defense more so than anything else that won them that game. Allen had 1 TD pass, one interception in that game. It is just the Bills since the move for getting rid of Dorsey and bringing in bringing in Joe Brady. This team is 7-1 now with the playoff win. They're playing some very good football right now. And maybe they're being overlooked because they are playing KC, but their only loss was that fourth quarter collapse at Lincoln Field against the Philadelphia Eagles, where they lose in OT. Or this team could be a perfect 8-0, and probably should be a perfect 8-0 since the new offensive coordinator taking over. Allen's going to be a big part of this game, as will the guy I'm going to talk about next. Over 1.5. We're not laying any vig. I like it.
So where do I even start? All right, let's start with Kansas City's defense. A defense that has allowed more than 21 points only twice all year. So clearly it's an elite defense. Why is the first meeting between these two, 20-17, long, slow drives, no quick plays, fewer possessions. Why are people giving me overs in games with long, slow drives, slow possessions, great defenses? I just don't understand conceptually why we're looking at overs in this game, not unders.
Change of venue for one. We've got KC on the road now, and a lot is going to be said about Mahomes and his record as a dog. But change in venue in Buffalo and how well they are playing at home. This is a team that got better as the season progressed, and a lot of that had to do from the offensive point of view. One of the props we're going to talk about, obviously, is the rushing prop. While KC's defense was very good, they're also 23 against the rush. So if the Bills are able to establish that rushing game with James Cook against this KC defense that were 23rd in the lead, 23rd in the league, that's going to bring that has to bring the linebackers up. That has to bring the safeties up a bit. And this is where it sets up that passing game for Josh Allen. It's the perfect storm, Teddy. But again, it goes back to the narrative of if you like the Bills, you're going to like these player props. If you like KC, you're not going to like these player props. I think it's that plain and simple for me.
Well, there we go, everybody. Carmine obviously likes the Bills. Well, speaking of if you guys don't mind taking a second out of your day and hitting that thumbs up button, it would be greatly appreciated. We get over 125 likes. I will do a daily presidential address. Now, there are people in the chat room. A lot of them are giving me some love. Welcome back, Prez. Prez, you're back, etc. It's good to be back, and it's good to feel the love. I really appreciate it. Couple of guys, Theo Green and one other person, writes that they are only here for Gianni and Art. And, well, Teddy woke up for Gianni and Art, so we accept that. I do want to point out that you should also be here for Carmine Bianco. This NFL season, Carmine was 61%. He won 76 games. He lost 49. He made 85 units of profit for his clients. If you don't want to hear info from Carm, given those numbers, wow, I feel bad for you all. So speaking of which, Carm, let's stick with NFL. And congrats on an unbelievable year. You've got a prop bet for us on James Cook. Fill us in.
Yeah, the Cook rushing yards are right now are at 60.5. I think it's minus 120 to the over. And we saw the Cook rushing yards slightly go up in the last few weeks. It gets steamed prior to game time. Like, since the change in a more balanced offense by this team, he's averaging 73.25 yards per game over those games and that's on just under 17 carries, 16.9 carries. And again, it's the KC run or rush defense. Week 14 against KC, he averaged 5.8 yards per carry, 10 carries, 58 yards. That was, and again, it's kind of like what Teddy said. There were a lot of drawn out drives in that game, and not a lot of scoring in that game. But KC 23rd in yards. They allow he's averaging 4.34 yards per carry in this 8 games since the change in offensive coordinators. They're using him a lot more, and he's had some big numbers against the Dallas Cowboys, 179 yards. So that does inflate that number. But if you look at his rushing stats, and 434 yards per carry is a good number in my books. So against this KC team, if they can establish the run early, and they're going to look to do that, it just opens up the game for the Bills, and maybe they get over that hump. The hump being the KC team that they can't seem to beat in the playoffs. But it's a new year, it's a different venue, and hopefully a different result, Prez.
So I got to ask, all right? We're not fans generally.
Of course.
But you're a Bills fan, a flat-out Bills fan. You've been rooting for Buffalo. You live and die Buffalo. And now we got all these Bills overs. Clearly, you like the Bills for the game. As a handicapper,
Yes.
how do you do with your favorite team? Is this a team that do you always have a good read on? Buffalo? Is this a team you tend to avoid? People with their team. Some guys, you want to hear everything they have to say about their team. Other guys, when they have an opinion about their team, not so much. Talk to me about your relationship with the Buffalo Bills and your track record betting on Buffalo games.
Yeah, I'll expand it to a couple of sports, but we'll talk about this one in specific right off the bat. Is I do have a couple of unders in this game, but I did want to discuss them because they're client plays as well. These are 2 client plays. I have 4 of them in this game, and a couple of them are unders. I gave out the 2 of the plays. I could have gone 1 and 1, giving you 1 over and 1 under, but I normally don't bet on Bills games because I don't want that bias to creep in. And it's similar to the NHL. A lot of people, because I talk on Puck Time, and Prez says I'm always hard on the Toronto Maple Leafs. I went back and we ran a report on how many times I released the Leafs over the last 4 years, and I released them 38 times, winning 33 of the 38 times I released the Leafs as a play, betting on them and not against them. So I believe I don't allow my bias to infiltrate my plays to my clients, because if I did, I would be betting against the Leafs a lot more than I have been. I think I've only bet against the Leafs twice in the last 3-4 years, Prez. Hard to believe.
Okay. Congratulations. I love how you got pissing on the Leafs into your segment. Thank you, Carm. Wonderful stuff.
You're
I was
welcome.
I was on them last night as a 4% play.
As was I.
Cashed. Oh, there we go. And you know what, Carm? I bet on the Leafs and totals on Leaf games a lot. I want to run that. How did you get that record? I gotta ask head office.
Yeah, or run a keyword search and brings up every single Toronto play that you have.
That's so awesome. I'm so doing that. Carmine Bianco, everybody, guys, don't forget Carmine was 61% in NFL, and his NHL the last 30 days has been outstanding as well, 60.5%. Carm, what do you got to promote?
Yeah, 2 plays up in the NHL tonight, plus 31 units over the last 30 days, which is number 1 at WagerTalk in the NHL. So we are getting on a good run in NHL. And of course, my NFL packages, one of them is up. It is a 5% play that goes this weekend. And then I'll have a plays and props package with some of these plays that I mentioned on today's show, along with the other plays as well too. So plenty of action this weekend across all sports. So maybe pick up that 3-day all access and get everything through Sunday.
Perfect. Carmine Bianco, everyone. Teddy covers. What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
I want to talk about LeBron James, frickin' Bron. All right. And I didn't learn this last night. It was Wednesday, watching the Lakers demolish the Mavs, closing out a 4-0 night for me. It was fun to watch. I saw this yesterday. I didn't confirm it, but it's absolutely believable. LeBron has played with or against 35% of all the players to ever play in the history of the NBA.
Wow.
That's crazy, but it's real. He's the oldest player in the league right now. LeBron James, number 1. You have PJ Tucker on that list, Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry, Al Horford, Jeff Green, Mike Conley, Danny Green. There are guys still contributing on this list. Absolutely. None of them are leading their team. LeBron James is leading his team. He's 24 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds per game. Right now, age 39, he's a top 10 player in the league, arguably higher. I've never seen that before. Just for comparison, Michael Jordan, age 39, with the Wizards. Yeah, he played for 63 games. He averaged 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, the worst season of his career. And I believe it was the last season of his career. LeBron, at this age, is at a different level than anyone else I've ever seen in the NBA at this age. And in my opinion, Lakers can make you money right now. They're off a bad stretch. They're not a bad team. They ain't the Nets. LA -7 at home tonight. ESPN affair. That's what I learned 2 nights ago, Prez. Marveling at a player who just continues. Everybody starts to wear down. Tom Brady wasn't the same QB. LeBron James, still the same player.
Yeah. You remember Gordie Howe?
Yes, I remember him well.
He played into his mid-50s. That is, it's unbelievable. But I think LeBron's going to wait his son out. Want to get one season in with him, hopefully, and then call it a career. Teddy covers in the Prez. You're watching Wager Talk today. Hit that like button, everybody. Kelly Vincenzo, Prez, the blue sweatshirt jacket looks, and that's it. I'm going with looks good. It's freezing here. You know, I normally am on the show with a t-shirt, but it is cold. Teddy, real quick, one of the highlights of my trip. So I went to Florida, stayed at the Polo Club Boca Raton, really incredible facility. Played a bunch of golf, played with my dad, and my dad is 80. And he's done well in life, obviously. He lives in Toronto and has a really nice place at an expensive community in Boca. My dad spends at least an hour on a golf course looking for golf balls. It is so embarrassing. Like, we're paired with these other people. My dad's got a tool. He starts fishing balls out of the water. He's in the bushes on his knees, moving trees away to see if they're balls. Just buy balls, Dad. What? I like, you sit there and you're like, come on, man. Anyway, it is so freaking annoying. Go ahead.
All right. So, yeah, my 2 cents. All right. So you're mad at your dad for being cheap, for not buying enough balls. He's looking around for balls instead of just letting it go. Says the guy who's talking about how cold it is in his house instead of turning the heat up.
Wrong.
That's all I'm going to say.
Wrong. Wrong.
That's
I do. My studio is in the basement. The heat is
Yeah.
up, and the temperature is too hot up on the top floor, perfect on the middle floor, and freezing in the basement. If you can help me scientifically fix that,
absolutely.
what
you do is you buy a space heater for your basement, and the problem is solved. Done. Go out, spend $100. It'll be done today. Done.
Okay.
What, are you too cheap to do that?
No.
I don't know.
You know I'm the opposite of cheap, Teddy. I'm happy to spend money. But, man, you sit there and, come on, Dad, come on. Adds an hour to a golf round while he looks for frickin' he has balls that he uses when there's water, so that when he hits them in the water, he doesn't feel bad. So he actually has like a basket of range balls so that he doesn't lose good balls when it hits the water. Gianni the Greek joining us, everyone, and excited to have you, man. Couple of people said they tune in only for you, Gianni. Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Never better. Just checked in. That Bitcoin short I shared with the viewers about a month ago just continues to give us more and more of a return. Just keep following that one. We're looking at about a $30,000 BTC, at least 31, 32. It'll get there soon. So don't get rid of that short. If you got it, ride it out. Pull up your stop level so you're in profit, but whatever you do, ride it out. It'll go up and down a little bit, but the end result will be around that 30, 32 range. We got that out of the way. I'm glad to be here. Real quickly, Prez, don't forget to remind me to share some of that gold for tonight's college basketball because I forgot the last week, and I just got blasted on DMs of people asking for the plays. So
I understand. Listen, let's not get into a whole conversation about Bitcoin. You and I do. Well, it might go down to 30. And when it does, buy a ton, because
exactly
by the end of 2024, it's going to be well above the market is now, which is 40,600. Gianni, let's get into your UFC first. Then we'll take apart the Green Bay San Fran game. Allen versus Evloev. I might have pronounced
Yes,
that.
sir. Evloev. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Evloev.
Prez, I could have gave out a handful of plays on this UFC 297 card. In fact, I think I've released 5 or 6 premiums. At least half of them are on underdogs. There's a lot of value on the dogs. They're way behind from last year. Underdogs hit about 35%. They hit about 30% last year in the UFC, and it continued in the first event for 2024. Favorites, I believe, went 9-2 last week. Don't be surprised if underdogs start catching up. That's why I said I shared a bunch of dogs on this week's card, but there's a favorite that's just way undervalued. And my goal is to give you the biggest difference in implied win probability. And Evloev should be a minus 300 favorite in this fight. That's correct. I get it. Arnold Allen's only lost 1 fight. That was his last fight against Max Holloway prior to winning 10 in a row. But you have to dig a little deeper and look at the strength of schedule. Arnold's 10 wins came against opponents that won 58% of their UFC fights. Evloev's sitting at 17-0, 7-0 in the UFC. All 7 of those wins against opponents that won over 67% of their fights. Why? Because he came in as such a high-valued prospect. They threw him in the deep end immediately, and all he did is get the job done and continue to improve. His box score isn't regressing, it's progressing. He's only getting better as he's gaining experience and the level of competition increases. You're not seeing any regression, which I love. And the reason he's so undervalued is because if you take a look, he just doesn't finish opponents. He has kind of like that Khabib issue where Khabib had won 10, 11 fights in a row and no one cared because he was doing it via decision, via dominance. And that's exactly what Evloev does. He dominates you the way he wants to do it, and it's just not as attractive as knockouts and quick finishes. Take Evloev. Anything less than 200 is a steal. Right now, you could get minus 180 if you shop around. Movsar Evloev over Arnold Allen. Back-to-back losses for Allen, and I'm a fan.
Gianni says Evloev underpriced, even up to minus $2. I think it should be $3 chalk on Saturday in Toronto. Let's shift our focus now to the NFL. Saturday night in San Francisco. Look at the WagerTalk live odds screen right now. I'm seeing the 49ers minus 9.5 total, sitting at 50.5 against the Green Bay Packers. Break it down for me. Niners, Packers, Saturday night playoff football.
Only one reason my subscribers have not received a minimum of a 4% bet. Obviously, it would be 1% if they're following my risk recommendations. Regardless, it would be a big bet. The reason they haven't received this premium on the under is because I'm holding out for 51. Between 50.5 and 51, it's worth that full 10 cents. Meaning if you're laying minus 120 to get 51 instead of 50.5 to go under, you're not paying more than you're not getting a discount either, but you're not being charged more than you should. So we're going to sit back and see if we could get that 51 at minus 110 before we have to lay the minus 120. I don't think it's going to matter, but again, I'm out to make good plus EV bets. And here's the bottom line here. We have extremes, and that's all I look to trade. Again, I trade 5 different factors, but that's one of the big for overreactions. And I look for the rubber band to snap back. And when you look at Green Bay Packers, that's exactly what I expect, the rubber band to snap back, meaning this is a team that scored 33 or more points in 3 of the last 4 weeks. In fact, they come off a game with a combined 80 points were scored against the Dallas Cowboys. Take a look a little deeper, and what you'll find is that was the first line game in the last 10 for the Green Bay Packers that was even above 46.5, 47.5. So the market has definitely overreacted based on their season totals to date. And then I look at the San Francisco side, pretty much the exact same thing. Look at their last 10 games, not a single total closed higher than 48.5. And when I look at that defensive success rate, or what I always talk about, San Francisco, top 10 team. I get it. Green Bay's defense is very weak, and they're going up against a number 1 offense in success rate, but we've seen that improvement of the Green Bay defense. And I think if you weigh the later season a little more than the earlier season, I think that number is a little bit skewed. I like the under a lot in this game. I don't think they're going to come out firing like at least the total reflects. I think we got a good under here, and I think the price is giving us even a better total than we should have, just based on some recency bias.
Wonderful stuff, Gianni, everybody. Gianni, let's go to your sheet. Teddy and I will kick back and let you talk at 100 miles an hour, which is your normal voice.
Yes, sir. This is all the stuff I've moved up until 9:26 a.m. Friday Pacific time. And this is where I'll be choosing which premiums I release. Like I tell my subscribers, you want to be a handicapper? You know I'm long-term winner. Take the plays that I release and handicap those. You know you're starting with winning stuff. Make your job easier. That's what I do. I know I'm dealing with winning stuff. It's a ton of it. And I try to narrow down those 4 or 5 plays out of all of this that still has value for myself and my subscribers. Let's go. 876 under 145.5 Ryder. 890 under 142 Wisconsin. 889 Indiana plus 10.5. 875 under 146 Ryder. Oh, another under on the Ryder team. 306 546 Merrimack minus 7. 306 541 Fairleigh Dickinson minus 3.5. 880 Siena plus 6. 875 under 144.5 Ryder. Look, that's the third group that came in on Ryder. The first came in at 46, the second at 45.5, and now the third at 44.5. Tells you that a perfect example of there's still some value even after an adjustment many times. And finally, 876 Ryder minus the 3. 871 Georgetown plus 14.5. 873 St. Louis plus 9. 884 Iona minus 6. 892 under 145.5 UNLV. 874 under 148.5 St. Louis. 879 over 146 Siena. 879 Quinnipiac. And then the added games, 306 541 over 51.5 Fairleigh Dickinson. Fairleigh Dickinson minus 2.5. 548 St. Francis minus 3. And then finally over 124 in the Wagner game. The only NBA I have is over 235.5 Phoenix and New Orleans. That's all this theme as of this morning. Whether you follow, fade, or ignore, I hope you're able to use the information to do some damage.
You must sleep hard, Gianni. Like when it's time to go to sleep, no?
Yeah, I sleep deep, but I sleep very small time. Like I sleep probably 5 hours max, but I'm probably out for like 3.5 of those, probably in deep sleep. But I'm just not a long sleeper. Okay, I get in bed and I don't fall asleep very early, but I get up just real early every morning. I'm just have this nervous disposition. People think I'm like on drugs because of my energy. If I took drugs, I take the kind that has to slow you down, not the kind that speeds you up.
Well, dude, I mean, people say I have a lot of energy, and when it's time to crash, all that energy just leaves, and I crash hard.
And I'm anemic. I'm anemic too. Can you imagine if I had normal blood like you guys? This is someone with a real low my blood level, so I'm not supposed to have energy at all. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. So people say to me, Prez, have you ever done cocaine? And I say,
yeah,
I am cocaine. Gianni, you on coke would be, I don't like, can we do a show? It would be.
I could tell you some stories of back in the day. It's been 20 plus years, I think, since I've been in the same room with cocaine. But yeah. Oh, I came here 25 years old and single. Yeah, during the time when drugs were safe, were good for you, and sex was safe. So it was a much different time.
Now drugs are safe and sex is good for you?
No, now neither are. Are you kidding me?
Okay, Gianni the Greek, everyone. What do you got to promote?
I just good stuff. You want to win? Jump into the Steam room. We go over everything each and every week. And I know no big games. I don't push the big games. When they come, we fire. I just try to push the long-term grinding. I'm the hard worker. You know that. So if you want to work hard with me and partner up, let's do it.
Gianni the Greek, everyone. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Love you guys. Thanks, Teddy. Thanks, Prez.
Teddy,
Cheers.
I tell you, holy wow. It's like a blizzard hit WagerTalk today, but one we love. It's time for your big game breakdown. Art DiCesare right after that, everyone.
Big game breakdown style. Let's talk some Friday night NBA on ESPN. And this should be a great game. The Celtics and the Nuggets, two championship contenders and two teams primed to battle tonight. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. The money showed for Boston. They're up to -7, total 234. The Boston money coming in part because it looks like Kristaps Porzingis and Derek White, both of whom missed their last game, are going to be available this evening against Denver. I bet against the Celtics as favorites a fair bit this year. And I made money doing it too. Boston being asked to lay big prices night after night. Just look at this number. Against arguably the number 2 team in the league, they're -7 at home. That said, my numbers have the Celtics a field goal better than anyone else in the NBA. Way ahead of everyone else right now. This line agrees, says Boston would be road chalk in Denver, and I think they would be. You know me, I'm a quotes guy. This is a strong bet on quote, in my opinion, for the best team in the league. Jaylen Brown, quote, I think we're still improving. This is part of the regular season. This is the part of the regular season where you got to embrace. You can get complacent. You can get mentally checked out. We're trying to make sure we are all engaged. And this is where you build your endurance for a long playoff drive. This is the part of the regular season I think is the most important going into the All-Star break, etc. Teams start to count the days, and we're going to keep stacking wins. That's a strong bet on quote for this particular time of the year. And look, I have no disrespect for Denver. Nothing bad to say about Denver. Well, a little bit bad to say about Denver. They're only 11-10 on the highway this season. They've been dogs 5 times this year. 2-0 against the spread the first 2, 0-3 against the spread the last 3. Head coach Mike Malone, after the loss earlier this week, gave his team the effort trophy. Obviously not the outcome we wanted, but proud of the effort off a loss. I don't like that type of quote when you're going into Boston. The sharp money's come for the Celtics for good reason. Boston -7 for this better. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, Carm comes on and discusses a game that I'm betting tonight for my clients. You have come on and you are discussing a game I'm betting tonight for my clients. I love when that happens. Lynn Christopoulos, new to the chat, appreciate the team. Lynn, we love having you. Thanks for taking the time to join us. We do this every day, Monday to Friday, and I promise you, if you stay with us on a regular basis, not only will you get great betting picks, but more importantly, great betting information. Art DiCesare joining us, everyone. Arthur, are you wearing the swag?
No.
How are you, my friend? You excited? You excited for the weekend?
Prez, I am, but around this time, you start to get real melancholy, man. 7 football games left. It starts to get a little sad, but I mean, obviously in what we do every day, we have sports and every day we have something to look forward to, but obviously football is what keeps us going.
You know, it's so funny you say that. I feel the opposite. I feel like the NFL season reminds me of Las Vegas. I can't wait for it to begin. And I can't wait for it to end. So I'm not with you, bro. I love when the NFL season ends, but I love more when it begins. It's just, it's such a grind, especially in November and December with all the sports going on. Now we've lost college football. We don't have to handicap that anymore. Soon we will lose NFL. Man, I don't mean to be speaking for Teddy, and he can jump in here, but God, it just gets too much after a while. Teddy, no?
I don't know. I like the NFL. I know. I mean,
well, I love NFL, but it's just How many
Well,
hours a day for how many months can you do this?
Sure, but it's like, so you and I have been doing this a long time. We're used to the cycles of the year, and the cycles of the year feel very natural to us now. All of a sudden, January, things slow down, because November and December are ridiculous. November, December are the two busiest months of the year by far. So once college football ends, you exhale a little bit. Once the NFL regular season ends, you exhale a little bit more. That said, if we could, I'd take playoff football all spring. No one complained.
Well,
let's talk about some football with the risk management supervisor over at the Westgate Superbook, a man who takes the time out of his busy day to join us on his days off. Art DiCesare does that at ArtDice21 on Twitter. Let's talk about the 4 games this weekend. Art, we'll start there. You want to go through them one by one? You want to talk about them all? And okay, let's start with Houston, Baltimore. What are you seeing? Where's the action? Who do the pros like? Who do the Joes like? Who do you like? Side, total. Give me some skinny on the Texans and the Ravens.
Sure, absolutely. Texans at Ravens. Open 9, open 46. Moved to 9.5, took some sharp action early on Baltimore. And then the total went down because of the weather. We're now 43.5. Now, I don't know if the weather's really going to play into it as far as snow. It's snowing in Baltimore right now. It's probably going to be really cold. But, the under money did come in. About 60-40 on ticket count between Ravens and Texans, and that's 60 Ravens, 40 Texans. People have come in and taken some shots on Houston's money line, which is interesting, and we've seen that as a theme throughout all these games with people taking shots on the underdog in the money line position. Obviously, when we have these big favorites, the Ravens are going to be put into all money line parlays, just like last week. If we could have gotten Buffalo or Dallas to lose outright, it's going to be enormous. There's going to be a same situation this week with the big favorites.
Well, you got Dallas to lose outright, so congratulations on that. Art, Saturday night, San Fran, minus 9.5 against Green Bay, and this Green Bay team has been impressive. Jordan Love, the last 10, 11 games has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It's plus 9.5. Are the Pack getting no respect here, or are the 49ers the bet?
Well, obviously the Niners, despite that loss to the Ravens late in the season, probably still the best power-rated team in the league, depending on what you look at or who you trust in. But most people will have the Niners, slightly, as the best team in the league. When we opened minus 10, Sharps took Green Bay at plus 10. They just felt the number was, a good number for them, and they took the 10. So we're at 9.5, total of 50.5, and that's where we open. Have not moved off that opening total. Once again, there have been some shots on Green Bay on the money line, and this ticket count is like 55-45, probably more towards San Francisco, a little bit more money on Green Bay, actually, but ticket count 55-45, slightly towards San Francisco.
Let's shift our focus to Sunday and talk about the Lions and the Bucks. Best I can tell, these were 2 pretty good games for the house last week. Tampa beating Philly outright. Detroit with the win, no cover. Everyone was laying the points with the Lions or taking the Rams in the money line. So even though that line moved down from 3.5 to 3, my hunch is it was a pretty good game at the Westgate Superbook. Now they're facing each other this week. Where's the action coming? Anyone you like in this one?
Sharps are on both sides of this game. When we opened 6, they laid 6. When we got to 6.5, a couple Sharps came in and took Tampa with the 6.5. Opened the total at 48. We've moved to 49. It's been more the market moving that way. Some public money on the over. Really nothing sharp moved us the full point on the total. About 60-40 ticket count for the Lions compared to the Bucks. This feels to me like a Tampa game. I think there's going to be a little bit of a letdown for Detroit. They finally got the win off their back. 6.5 feels like too many. For me, my favorite play of the whole weekend would be to take the points with Tampa Bay.
Art DiCesare joining us, everyone. Art, I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm guessing that the most watched and the most bet football game this coming weekend is going to be between the old rivals, the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. What is the Westgate line? What are you seeing? What are you taking? And what do you personally like? Was that good, Teddy? Did I do that well?
Better than-
Because I know you gave me grief beforehand, and I just want to make Teddy happy.
So just to jump in real quick, I told him not to tell you what the line was, that you're going to give the line from the Westgate Superbook. That was my criticism of him, which I stand by 100%.
He does.
What's going on at the Westgate? Buffalo, KC.
Prez, you know what? You've obviously been doing this for a long time because you're spot on with saying this is going to be the most bet and watch game. There's no doubt. First of all, it's the last game of the weekend, which most things are going to roll into, parlay cards, teasers, everything. But the matchup is just amazing. Obviously, this is the tightest of the spreads. These are just two teams who have seen each other a lot in the playoffs and regular season. So this game is going to see a tremendous handle and a tremendous watch, and it'll be great for us. When we opened it Bills minus 2.5, total of 46.5. We've only moved the juice on the side, 2.5, minus 120 on Buffalo. Total's gone down a point to 45.5. I would say right now it's about 60-40 Buffalo ticket count. Once again, people taking some shots with Kansas City on the money line. There are some threes out there around town, so I think people might go and try to shop for the 3. And if they can't get the 3 and they're going to bet at another place, they might take Kansas City plus 130, plus 135 on the money line. And like I said, the under money that came in was some sharp money early. Obviously, weather could be a factor. Probably no snow, just really cold. But this is going to see a tremendous handle. I don't really have a play in the game, but I am going to root for Buffalo because I want to see new blood move on, and I think it would be great for the Bills and their fans.
So you talked about how Tampa Bay, of the 8 sides this weekend, Tampa Bay was your favorite side. What would you say of the games we've gone through all 4 games? What's the most public play out there? What's the most wise guy play out there?
I'd say right now the most wise guy play would probably be the early Green Bay plus 10. Now, you're not going to get that anymore. So I think for us, the Sharps lined up really quickly on that Green Bay plus 10. It feels like Detroit now at 6.5 is a little bit public. And, it's funny, the Chiefs and Bill game, we haven't really had a sharp group line up on either side. That's the game where it hasn't been someone said, oh, we're laying it with the Bills or we're taking it with the Chiefs. So I'm surprised we haven't had anyone line up there yet. So I'd say early sharp action, most one that kind of jumped out to me was the Green Bay. And to me, most public right now is laying it with Detroit and definitely teasing Detroit, because Detroit's right in that zone. Because obviously if you're going to tease San Francisco or you're going to tease Baltimore, now you got to tease 7. Because you want to get under 3, and everybody wants to get there. They don't want to tease to 3 or 3.5. So Detroit, very popular in the money lines and the teasers.
Art, that's actually what I was going to ask you. Throughout the year, and we've seen this year in and year out, it's getting bigger and bigger. And that is these teasers, whether they're 2-team 6-pointers or 3-team 10-pointers. These teasers 20 years ago were barely bet. And it's just becoming more and more not important. There's more. It's in people's portfolios more. Do you find that in the playoffs as well? Because I feel like it's much harder to find good teaser opportunities in the playoffs.
Yeah, Prez, and obviously, listen, I've been doing this 6, 7, 8 years now. Obviously been in the industry a little bit, and I think now, too, you get into a position, and I'm sure it was like this even before I was there and the talk was there, but you want to protect numbers now, too. You get to a point where you recognize that that's going to happen, even on some money lines. You might jack up, a favorite money line, 10 or 20 cents because you're going to have to protect all the favorites getting money line parlayed. So there is a lot of that, and I'm with you. I think you've seen the growth in the teasers. Obviously, teaser cards have always been available, but I'm talking more now people coming over the counter and betting just teasers, not on a card, and betting teasers on an app. It's not even on the standard cards that you're going to get off a counter.
Art DiCesare, we love having him. Only a few minutes left. Let's pick his brain some more. Getting good information from behind the counter from a veteran odds maker right here in fabulous, sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. Art, let's talk a little bit of hoops, and Lawrence will ask you a little bit of NHL before we let you go. What are you seeing tonight? on the basketball card. Anything in NBA, anything in college hoops. Who do the pros like? Who do the Joes like? Anyone that you like.
Absolutely. We'll do 2 NBA, 2 college. Couple of totals in the association. Hawks at Heat opened 228.5, now 226. So under money is poured in there. That is sharp. And I know Gianni had mentioned it. Suns and Pelicans, they're betting the over. Open 235.5. We've gotten to 237. Over money sharp. College basketball. Canisius at Iona. Iona opened -6.5. They have moved to 8. Iona, that was sharp money. And then the Indiana-Wisconsin under. It was 144.5. We've moved all the way to 141. So a 3.5-point move to the under, sharp as well. And listen, college and NBA, there are public plays, but it just seems to me more in and more out, we're moving and booking, obviously, to a lot of sharp numbers. And it just feels that way, especially now with all the playoffs. Maybe some of the public isn't as involved in those two sports because they're so worried about the playoff football.
Art DiCesare, Art, we'll get to NHL, but have you taken any big bets or anything we need to know about the Australian Open that's currently underway?
You know, for us, the men's, you got to take the men's out of it. It's really a 2-horse race. Maybe you want to throw Medvedev in there. You want to throw Sinner in there when you got the pre-flop. But it's obviously the 2 big boys. Coco's the big mover for us. You know, when we opened her, 8-9 to 1, she's now down to 3 to 1.
Wow.
Obviously, there are other women who are going to compete. But, obviously our big tennis odds maker is a big Coco guy. He likes to protect against Coco. Just feel like Coco is now in her. She's going to go win some majors phase. So Coco for us was the big mover. And we take money on Coco because she's obviously an American girl.
Okay, there you go. Art, NHL, not a big card tonight. 4 games. Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, 4 games, obviously a lot of big favorites. A little bit of money's come in on Carolina, moved that 20 cents from -190 to -210. And the Islander Blackhawk total, open 6 under 15, moved to 6 under 25. That is probably going to, at some point, get to 5.5 if we see a little bit of money, more, a little bit more money come in there. So if you like that under, you probably got to bet it now, even though you're paying the juice.
There we go, Teddy.
Arthur DiCesare, strong info. We love having you on every week. Promote yourself, my friend. What do you have that you want to promote in the Art DiCesare world?
Westgate Superbook, guys, come down and listen. When we get the props out, we're going to obviously have our big game prop game, which, we do over the counter, up to 5 entries, $100 max, where, we put out 20, 30 props on a card, and it's kind of one of those little contests like we do with season wins for all the sports. So, keep an eye out for that. Obviously, we're going to have all the stuff you're going to want for the Super Bowl. Come down, get signed up for the app. That's going to be important around this time because the lines will be long. Super Bowl pre-week and obviously Super Bowl week with the game in town. And listen, if anyone ever needs any help and you're in the Westgate, ask for me. And if I'm there, I'll pop out and give you a hand.
There we go. I like
giving us the skinny.
Sorry, Teddy.
From behind the counter. And I don't know how many shows you get that on. Art, we really appreciate your time and effort. Thank you so much. Good luck. Well, mediocre luck this week. So, I don't wish you guys too much luck on that side of the counter. Great and strong info each and every week, every Friday right here on WagerTalk Today. Go along with Gianni giving out the sharp moves in college hoops with Carm's 61% NFL season. Strong show today. Let's see if we can end it strong. Lawrence, give out some winners with your presidential address.
Theodore, will do. Before we get into the presidential address, Gianni came on the show and said, I just didn't want to argue with him, but he said that his Bitcoin short has done really well. When he came on and told us about that Bitcoin short, Bitcoin went up like 10 grand. So I don't know what his short was, but I'm very confused. Anyway, it's time for your daily presidential address. Okay, guys, before we get into that, and I got 2 bets to give out for you, I just want to make mention. Look, the last couple of weeks for me has been a lot of kissing your sister. It's been yesterday I won both my NHL games, lost both my hoop games. It's been a lot of 2-2, 1-2, 3-2, 2-3. I really haven't gotten going in the last couple of weeks, But with that said, I am up profit on the season in NHL, NBA, and college basketball. And frankly, that is the most important thing. We are all going to go through slumps. We're all going to go through streaks, and we're all going to kiss our sister throughout a season. The only thing that matters to me ultimately is winning money over the long run for my clients. And how can you complain when you're up in NBA, college basketball, and NHL? I have one NHL bet, 2 NBA bets, and 1 college basketball bet up for my clients over at WagerTalk. Please check that out. As for tonight's card, Art DiCesare came on here and said the Carolina Hurricanes are taking a lot of money. I agree. This is a terrible spot for Detroit. I know they're one of the hottest teams in the league. They are going to lose tonight. I like Carolina in regulation, somewhere around minus 140. And the Florida Panthers, losers of 3 in a row after they won 8 in a row, are minus 190 against the Minnesota Wild. Great spot to bet Florida. I like them in regulation as well. Teddy, it's good to be back. We'll see you next week. Everybody, I hope you kick ass this weekend. Lots of love. It's Shawarma Friday. Take us home, bro.
Enjoy the games and best of luck with all your wagers this weekend. We'll be right back in these same chairs on Monday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon.